comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money.
Well, good afternoon, good evening, guten Tag, guten Morgen, and let's get ready for another episode of Here Comes the Money
Sorry,
with
mate,
Peter Koleski
You got me distracted off the start.
and
Yeah,
Hovig
too much.
Ivanian. I guess, Peter, welcome back again,
be here,
another
mate.
great episode. First, before we get started, Peter,
Yeah, general advice warning. So just remember, guys, this is general information only. We don't know your situation, so don't just take whatever we say and put it into place. It may or may not work for you. Best to get some advice before you do anything. And any returns you speak about, like in terms of outcomes, just remember past returns aren't always a good indicator of future performance. Just give you a guide.
may not be specific for your specific scenario. You should say that quicker anyway. Peter, welcome back. We're going to talk about cash flow, budgeting,
Yeah.
and managing cash flow today.
Yeah, cash
which
flow
is
management strategies, yeah.
Yeah, we're really, really important topic, especially now. Look, the thing on the top of everyone's lips is housing costs, mortgages, rent stress, and I could tell you, the top financial worry for 2026 is 22% of people citing steep mortgage repayments, surging rents from CanStar. That's on everyone's top of everyone's lips. But what can you do? What can you control? You got to think about what you can and can't control. So
Yeah.
that brings you to the management of the cash flow. Yes.
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, if you can't manage your cash flow properly, if you don't create a surplus, you can't really do anything. Let's be honest. You
And
can't.
if you can't measure it,
Well, that's right.
you can't manage it.
You can't pay down debt. You can't increase your wealth and
Yeah.
build buffers and all that sort of stuff. So we want to talk about that today and basically show people how to kind of, I guess, take ownership of it. And
Yeah,
take control of it.
That's it, and build it back for yourselves instead of giving it away. Now,
Yep.
what I like to start with, Peter, and I know all of our clients, before we even get started, we always go, okay, let's fill out this spreadsheet. Let's go
Yep.
through line by line. But I always say to people, you've got to figure out how much you actually have, which you have control over.
Mhm.
And we'll go into fixed and variable costs and all that sort of thing. But the way I start out, and you can go through the whole exercise because I'm a true believer in if anything's written down,
Yep.
it's already half solved. So yes, you need to go through the whole exercise. But what I do is I do a little bit of a simple method, and you can do this just sitting in your car listening to us or driving or whatever at home. If you think about how much income do I produce, so just call it $100,000,
Yep.
just to make things
Yep.
easy, and just say in a perfect world, $30,000 goes out the door into tax, without talking about strategies where you can tap into your tax or do any of that. $30,000 goes out of tax.
Yep.
So that's $70,000 left. Okay.
Mhm.
The next thing I've got is my rent or my mortgage, right? Let's
Yep.
say that your mortgage repayments are another $30,000.
Yep.
So 100 minus 30 minus 30, we've got 60.
Yep.
So 100 minus 60 is 40.
Yep.
Right? So you got $40,000 in after tax, after mortgage cash flow.
Yep.
Now, I know you've got to pay your rates, rego, fuel, insurance. We're going to talk about all that in a second, but you've got $40,000 there.
Yep.
The simple question I ask people is, at the end of the year, how much money have you got saved? And if the answer is none, well, you just spent $40,000.
Yep.
Now we can go and break up that 40 because I know and you know when people do the budgeting exercises, they always miss the
Yeah.
cup of coffee. They miss
Yeah,
the
yeah.
night out. They miss
Yeah.
that discretionary expense that they've made
Yeah.
without sort of thinking about it too much.
Yeah.
And it's not hard to put things in play.
Mm.
And we're going to talk about, if you can't touch it, you can't spend it, all that sort of stuff.
And I think that's why it's important to actually sit down and break down that 40K that you're talking about, the 40,000 that's just spending, because a lot of that may need to happen. It might just be basically, we've mentioned it before, lifestyle creep, where you earn it, comes in, and you spend it.
Yeah. And
You
look,
know?
it's not always 40K. You might
No,
have husband and
exactly.
wife.
Yeah,
John
yeah.
and Mary, they're
It's a
earning
simple example.
$100,000 each.
Yeah.
So just using the same example, John and Mary minus 60,
Yep.
minus the mortgage, they've got 120.
Yeah, yeah,
So we're not talking about 40, we're
Yeah.
talking about 120 grand here.
Yeah.
It's not peanuts.
exactly right.
And that,
It's very easy to sort of go out, though, as we know.
yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
Whether it's those $5 or $6 coffees as we've seen them. We've got a couple here, I think.
Yeah.
But, just a simple example.
Mine's
like-
lactose free, of course, Peter.
very important. Otherwise, this episode will be cut quite short.
So, Pete, what can we do?
Okay, so look, realistically, I think the first place to start is, like Hovig said, you need to sit down and obviously write down what comes in. So you know your income, you know what comes in every month, fortnight, week, whatever it might be. Okay, so if you can see it in your bank account, it'll go in there. So you start with that. This is what's coming in, and then you need to sort of detail what's going out, and I mean everything. I'm going to share basically quite a detailed spreadsheet that we use with our clients all the time, and this is a big starting point because we need to know basically where everything's going. Okay. Quite often, the good thing about doing this is you might sit down with someone and they might say, we've got nothing left. And the reason is because they blow a lot of it on just shit. and just overspending. So this will help us identify what has to go out and what is basically, I guess we call them fixed and variable. We'll go into more detail on that. So the fixed expenses have to go out. Variable, it's basically a choice.
Let's give some examples of fixed expenses.
Fixed expenses are mortgage repayments, rent where you live.
Yep.
Council rates.
Can't avoid that if you own a property.
Insurances.
You got to get the insurance.
Just to protect yourself.
Car registration.
Stuff like that. That's even petrol to some degree is basically.
And we mentioned before the kids. If you've got kids, tuition fees.
Exactly. Could be school fees. Could be uniforms. They have to be paid for.
You can go and negotiate with the school and
Unfortunately
say,
not.
I wish I could, but
I guess it depends on the school you're going to. But some schools you have to pay fees, some you don't.
Yep.
But that's an example of a fixed cost. You have to pay that.
So
variable
car rates, rego insurance, things you need to survive.
Exactly. Variable expenses are things like the coffees, the lunches, going out every weekend and on dinners and whatnot.
Yep.
That's an example.
Netflix, Stan, Foxtel.
Foxtel. Your car repayment. That's an option. That's not always a necessity.
Yep.
I mean, it might be a necessity, but you might be paying $1,000 or $1,500 a month on a car repayment when it could be $500.
I've got one. My wife knows well this one. Shopping.
You always do this to yourself, don't you? Every single time. But yes, it is an example. Shopping expenses. So they are all variable. They don't have to happen. Those are the ones you need to control the most because they can easily sort of blow out. Okay, and then you find that you sit down at the end of the year and you say, I've got nothing left. I'm spending everything. When quite often you might be able to find 5, 10, 20, 30 grand every single year in just excessive spending. That is very, very common. And this is why we do this exercise that you can see on your screen where it basically details your income, all the different types of income sources you might have. You list them all down. And then he goes through each sector, home and utilities, insurances, financial, groceries, personal. I mean, I won't go through every single item because I'll bore everyone to death.
It's a personal exercise to go through.
It is.
And only you know what you can and can't do and sit down and look at yourself.
And what you might need to do if you don't remember everything, because you won't, is look at your bank accounts. Yep. So, look through them for the last 3 or 6 months. I know it's a boring exercise. It's not an exciting part of the whole process.
Yep.
But it is a requirement because it will open up your eyes.
Well, we've actually trialed numerous different softwares, AI. If we're developing an app as well. I might as well let that cat out of the bag. Yeah. Which will actually go through your bank account, but it's not going to be perfect because no one's going to do it as good as you.
No, exactly. I mean, it's going to tell you what you've done. It's not going to basically take the stuff out and stop spending it for you. You still have to do that part.
Yeah. I love that cappuccino in the morning, even though I'm not a big coffee drinker, but I'm saying someone might love that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have the mocha kidya Woolworths blend every day. Like, that'll make my life shit. And can I afford that or can I not? That's the question
it comes down to then when you obviously, and we'll go into more detail again on this, when you list your variable expenses that are a choice, you might have to just sit down and say, okay, is this that important to me? Yes or no? If it is, like the coffee, you love your coffee every morning. Yep. It's going to cost you $5. Okay, that's something that has to stay.
Pete, you know what I love to do, and the most effective and efficient way that I've found to do this. If you can't see it, you can't spend it.
Yeah, true. Take it away from yourself.
So when the money gets put in, and this is a great strategy. Yeah. And in actual fact, my kids, I've done this to my kids. So my son Christopher just started working recently.
Yep.
He's 13 years old.
Yep.
Works at IGA.
Good. Excellent.
And when his money hits his account, automatically my wife will take half of it and put it into his investment account.
Excellent.
And he's happy with that.
Yeah.
And he can see it building and growing, and it motivates him to keep doing it.
It creates a habit as well.
But whatever he makes. So with us, as everyday people, we've got real expenses. You're obviously not going to put half of it.
No.
But if I took away 10% of your income, net income, every week, would you miss it?
No.
You wouldn't miss it.
Yeah, exactly. You won't even notice it if you don't see it. It's when you see it and it's in your account. Assuming you're not using credit cards out of control and stuff as well. But it all comes down to discipline, doesn't it?
Absolutely. We've spoken about buckets and different savings accounts as long as they're offset to the mortgages and all that. But imagine you just had another bucket which is not connected to a debit card.
Yep.
So you can't access it very easily. You need to physically go in, transfer it back, then put in your debit. So you're conscious about it. 10% of your wages. So payday's Wednesday. On Thursday, there's a direct debit. Moves it across. You won't even miss it. If you'd take that account off your internet banking app.
Don't see it. Yeah.
So you don't see it. I bet you at the end of the year you'll have $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 in that account.
Would not surprise me at all, to be honest. Well, if not more.
50 grand in after-tax money, 10% of that is $5 grand.
$5 grand, exactly right.
$5 grand compounding over 10 years.
Yeah.
We're talking about almost 80 to 100 grand.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is.
So the importance of managing your cash flow stems from the birth of when it comes in,
Yep.
let's figure out what's going out.
Yeah.
And this is not just personal finances.
Yeah.
In economies, Pete, we call them leakages and
Yeah.
injections.
Yeah.
What do governments do? Government spending.
Yeah.
They call it injection.
I think that's exactly right. But
Yeah.
another thing we always need to remember with the cash flow when it comes in, if you don't direct it, I always say this: if you don't direct that, it's going to direct you.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
In
It's
that,
like if I spilt this bottle of water
yeah,
and there was no bucket to
Yeah.
keep it will just go off
that's
the table
exactly
and
right.
disappear. Yeah.
Same sort of thing. If your money comes in and you've got no direction for that money, it's going to just go everywhere. It's going to make
Yep.
a mess, and that's what a lot of people put themselves into in that sort
Yeah.
of situation.
So look, it's a very, very simple topic, but it can be.
Yeah.
I think it can be more unboxed and unpacked like
Yeah.
we're doing now. But like, there's limited stuff we're going to say about it.
Yeah.
What we're here to say today for everybody out there,
Mm.
write it down, sit down,
Yeah.
go through the exercise, because if you can't measure it, you
Yeah.
can't manage it. Any problem written down is half solved.
And look, I mean, there's a few things that I think you should be able to see on your screen at the moment. If you're watching, if you're listening, I'll basically, shake them off and I'll just go through them. So realistically, what we're trying to get to
Are
here
you going to
is
shake them off or rattle them off?
whatever you like, whatever you prefer, just do it. So basically, with cash flow management, there's really two levers, and we've spoken about this before. The one lever is what comes in, one is what goes out. So with the one that comes in, your income, it's a bit harder to control, isn't it? Because sometimes you could be limited on how much you can earn. Now, there's so many things you can do in the current economy where you can actually earn extra money aside from your job if you're working for someone. But it's whether you want to do that and spend the extra hours. But the one that's you have a bit more control over is the one, what goes out, your expenses, which is what we're talking about.
Yep.
Okay. If you can earn more, fantastic. But if you can put more aside or control of what goes out, that's even better. If you can do both, that's when the game
You're
kind
going
of
to be
changes.
happier in the long run.
Exactly right. It's going to help you. Short-term pain, long-term gain.
Yep.
Simple as that. So they're the things you have to control. And then when you look at the spending, we kind of touched on this already. When you look at your fixed, your variable, you have your, basically you list down, okay, what's important, what isn't, what you really want to have and what you don't necessarily need to have, and just cut the stuff that you don't need to have. Get it out, And it might be a bit of an oversimplification, but it doesn't have to be that complicated.
Yeah. And look, to make things even ultra easier on
Yeah.
people, I know that we can come in and we can restructure the mortgage, restructure
Yeah.
the taxes, do this and do that. And that frees up cash flow. But what's important, we remind all of our clients,
Yeah.
once we've done this,
Yeah.
don't just go and spend it.
Yeah.
Let's redirect that money, because you never had this before.
That's
We've
right.
just created this for you,
Mm.
this cash flow. Let's now redirect that to pay off their bad debts,
Yeah.
or to build up investments,
Yeah.
or to do this, or to do that.
Exactly.
So we always live by the fact that any investment has to not impact your lifestyle, allow
Yep.
you to keep enjoying today while you secure tomorrow.
Yep.
And when we do that, if you do this exercise off the bat,
Yeah.
it's like double. You've got that
Yep.
and that together, and
Yep.
it's basically compounding.
It's a compounding benefit. Exactly right. That's very, very important. And then it allow you to do the other things like build up your buffer. I think it's on the screen again. So in terms of how many months worth of buffer is good to have.
Yep.
I mean, everyone's going to be different. For some people, 3 months. For some people, 6 months. I mean, a 6-month buffer is pretty good, I think, in that, if you lose your job, you're good for 6 months.
Yeah.
You're probably going to find something else.
And I think people, before they start the exercise, you need to rate yourself 0 to 10
Yeah.
on how disciplined you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you're,
Be
0,
honest with yourself.
yeah, if you're
Yeah.
10 super disciplined,
Yeah.
I'll just put it on one account. You
Yeah.
can see it. You know what you're
You know what you're
spending.
doing.
You've got an app. You're
Yeah.
looking at it. If you're the 0 guy,
Yeah.
well, that's where I'm going to implement the account that you can't see.
Yeah, get rid of the credit
The
cards,
invisi-
all
what
that
I mean?
stuff.
So we've got to really understand ourselves psychologically,
Yep.
and look at the past. And the past is going to tell us, okay, I'm not disciplined.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this. Because look, when you're young, you make money, you spend it. That's fine when you're young. But when you get older, you need to start doing things where
Yeah.
you're planning for that future.
Yeah.
Because we talk about retirement and long term, but some people don't even look that far forward. We just want to get rid of these mortgages. We don't want to be, a slave to the bank for the rest of our
Some
lives.
people don't look that far
That's not
forward
very
because
fun.
they feel like they can't.
Yeah.
To your point, because they feel like they're stuck now.
Yeah.
And the purpose of this is to get in control now. Then you can look forward.
Yeah,
you know?
it's almost like peering
Yeah.
through the veil.
That's
of
why what you're doing
clarity.
with your son Christopher is very good from now.
Yeah.
It basically creates the discipline from now. When he gets older and obviously more expenses start rolling in for him, it'll just create that discipline that he knows how to direct his money.
Yeah.
Makes a big difference.
He has asked me to get money out of that account to pay for his games.
See,
And
when
I
he puts,
looked at him like this. You
I bet-
crazy?
I bet he
What
does
you
this.
talking about, Willis?
I bet what he does is he puts his money aside, but he comes, Dad, can I have some money?
Yeah, he probably
Smart
does,
guy.
yeah.
I like that. That's a smart guy.
I just always tell him, if you learn more, you earn more. Hard work pays off.
Exactly.
So, look, we'll get there. It's a great topic to talk about.
Yeah.
As always, if anyone else has questions, and this was directed to us
Yeah.
by one of our clients to talk about, we hope
Yeah.
we've gone over what we can,
Mm.
but it's always what's specific to you. Obviously, today's is general information only. Again, sit down. We're happy to go through that with you. It helps to have a third party in front of you, keeping you honest as well. through the way.
100%. And we do a lot with clients. So that's one of the big things we start with because, once you need to know what's going out and coming in and what's left before you can actually do anything.
Yeah.
Because if you've got zero cash flow, let's be honest, you can't reduce debt. You can't build wealth.
And
You
I'll
can't
tell
do any
you
of that
what,
stuff.
Pete, I had a client, and him and his wife, they were quite strained, their relationship.
Yeah.
And I looked at it, I said, how much savings is there? He goes, none. And I looked at it, and we restructured everything for them. When we cleared up and created the buffers and put it, do you know that the husband and wife relationship became stronger?
You hear that a lot.
So
You
I
hear
hate
that a lot,
money's
yeah.
the worst evil, but
It can be.
unfortunately it makes the world go round, and
It
you
does.
need it.
Yeah.
So if you
Yeah.
can control that, it actually controls and makes better other things in
Yeah,
your life
yeah,
as
it
well.
creates a happier
Not
life
to go on
because
that
you
sort of
don't
path,
feel,
but-
but you don't feel like you're under. It relieves some pressure.
Yeah.
That's a big
Yeah,
part
so
of
you're
it.
putting yourself under unnecessary pressure by not
Yeah.
doing it.
Yeah.
So it's important to sit down,
Yeah.
take some time out. It's only going to take you half an hour.
Do the task. Do the task. If you don't have a sort of a spreadsheet like we've shown you, just reach out to us. We'll flick it over to you. You can do it yourself.
And no one's perfect.
Yeah.
But,
No.
failing to have a plan is planning to fail.
Yeah.
You like that one, Pete?
I like that one. Good one. Good job.
Well, another Hovig analogy right at you. Now, Pete, I think what I don't know why I talk like a racing, like someone
That's
calling
okay.
a horse race.
You get into your radio voice and you just do things.
I love doing these. Guys, we love being here for everyone. Now, what I was going to say, Pete, is can you share for us as we wrap up one of the client wins
Yes,
that we
yes,
discussed?
yes. So we want to share.
So what we're trying to do is every week, because we have so many, share a win, which
Yeah.
will motivate people to go, hey, I could do that.
Yeah.
And this is everyday people getting everyday wins by just sitting down doing the stuff we're talking about. And
Yeah.
it starts with cash flow management and then
Yeah, exactly.
with
It all builds on
whatever's
that.
going to be specific
And
for
the
your
wins
scenario.
the wins we're going to share are basically just over the last 12 months, not what's been achieved over 5 years. It's just going to be over the last 12 months.
Now that you said that, actually, next year's an important, or 2026, I should say.
Yeah.
Could be this year.
Yeah.
It is this year, actually.
Yeah, well, it could be. Yeah, it depends
It's
when
the
this is released.
10th year anniversary
Yeah,
for
for us,
Smart Money
for
Wealth
Smart Money.
Management.
We're clapping for ourselves.
A decade of excellence.
It's an achievement, I think,
Absolutely,
in
it
business.
is. Absolutely.
In anything, really. But,
Yeah, so to your point, it's the
Yeah.
last 12 months,
last 12 months.
current economy, current environment, current
Exactly
interest
right.
rate.
Always remember with the client wins that we share, we have to obviously say this. Obviously, past performance isn't a reliable indicator of what's going to happen in the future.
Yep.
But the difference is these people have done something and given themselves the option, the ability to achieve something like
Yeah.
this is the
I
point.
always question
you
that,
know?
but anyways.
Whether that's going to happen in
I
the next
feel-
12 months, nobody knows. But I
feel
mean,
like structure brings greatness, and
I think so.
if you can weather any economy and plan for the worst, hope for the
Yeah.
best, then you don't have to. But yeah, you're right. If you
Yeah.
plan, if you think about past performance indicator,
Yeah.
and everyone's heard that where they
Yeah,
talk about
yeah.
ads and all that sort of stuff, they
Yeah.
say it for a reason.
They have to. Yeah.
Because you need to have your eyes open
That's
when
right.
you do something. Make sure it's specific for you.
Yeah, and I think I'm not sure if you said it before, but you've said it in the past where you plan for the worst, hope for the best.
That's it.
These people have planned for the worst, and they've achieved pretty good
And
outcomes.
the good
along
thing
the
is
way.
when you plan for the worst and you do those numbers so you can put under your pillow and sleep at night.
Yep.
Anything that happens is going to be better,
Yeah, exactly right.
and that's why you're always a winner.
The first client win I want to share is this one here. So it's Stephen and Ryan. Last 12 months, we did a review just recently, and over the last 12 months, their investments have increased by $470,000, more than they've earned in
Wow.
the year.
They-
470 grand.
They're currently building their dream home as well. By the
Yeah,
way.
I know. But this is just
And
that
that's-
aspect.
That's given them the opportunity
Yeah.
by having those investments.
Yep.
And I've got some funny stories to share about those guys, which I
Yeah.
probably can't. But
Yeah.
they've done really well, guys. Well done.
Well done,
We're
you
very
know.
proud of you guys.
And there's going to
very
be
well
more of
done.
these we share. I mean, I've got about a list of a lot. It's a long list here, but that's okay. That's just one.
Absolutely.
So again, they've given themselves the option. They started a few years ago. They went through the same process that we're sharing here from a cash flow point, and then they've used that to obviously better their financial situation and do more with that money.
Yeah.
So
And-
that's the key.
Yeah,
You
that's it. And for those of you out there with kids, you could teach your kids, lead by doing,
Yeah.
lead by example, because I know a lot of people weren't taught this stuff growing up, and part of the reason me and Pete are so passionate is coming here and helping people, is just educating them. That's
Yeah.
it.
The problem is most weren't taught this sort
And
of
I
stuff.
also wanted to break into, I believe the children are... No, wait. That's another episode.
Can we cut that part out
No.
then when in post
Teach them
editing?
well, let them lead. All right, that's another episode of Here Comes the Money.
Thanks very much.
Thanks for another listening in for another great episode. This is Peter Koleski. I'm Hovig Ivanian. As always, any questions?
Yep. Shoot us an email to info@smartmoneygroup.com.au if you have any questions you want us to answer in our episodes. If you're not already, give us a follow on YouTube or social media, wherever it is. But if you want help sooner, feel free to reach out again.
Doesn't cost anything. First, we're going to see is where we can assist,
Yep.
then we'll tell you what to do.
Exactly right.
Guys, thanks again.
Thanks very much.